Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Gus Noah, and I know it's been a while since I've done a tutorial, guys. I've got a lot of school going on and work, so it kind of got ahead of me and I haven't had the time to do a tutorial. But today I'm back and I'm going to do a new tutorial for you guys, and a really cool one that a lot of you guys have been asking me through Instagram. And let's get into tutorial number 20. So the topic that I'm going to be going over with you guys today is one that has been requested by many people, especially through Instagram. A lot of people DM me on how I edit my photos for Instagram. So today I'm going to be taking you guys into Lightroom on how I color grade my photos, and then how I create presets of that color grade that I can apply for any future photos that I take that I want to post on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, or create thumbnails for YouTube. So then also, after I export it out of Lightroom, I'm going to show you guys on how I also kind of polish up the photos a little bit inside of Instagram so they're ready to post. So now let's get into Lightroom. Okay, so now that we're in Lightroom, we're going to edit one of the photos that I took of when I was doing my short film called This Is Our Voice, and we're going to work on the chef photo right now. So we're going to go over here into the basic color correction, and we're going to raise some of the shadows, lower a little bit of the highlights, kind of make the temperature just a bit warmer, and raise the tint just a bit over, like 10%. There you go. Raise the clarity just a little bit. I like to raise the vibrance just a bit and desaturate it by a little, just like that. And a lot of the times I like to raise the shadows to really draw the details out of the dark area. I really love raising the shadows for that reason. This photo also looks just a little crooked, so let's crop and change it so it's nice and even, just like that. Okay, so what I like to do a lot is when I go into the tone curves right here, I like to have it set at RGB, and then I put one right here, point in the blacks, in the midtones, and the highlights. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like a basic little S-curve. So I like to have the midtones basically where it's at, come up to the highlights and the top point, bring it down a little bit, raise the highlights, go down to the blacks or the blacks, and then bring the bottom part where the blacks are up a little bit. And by doing that, it adds like a little bit of a fade in the blacks. When you export your photos, you'll see it more. But I like to raise it just a little bit. If you raise it too much, it doesn't look good. So then right here is where you really do a lot of the kind of color grading part of it. So I like to take the yellows into the oranges a little more. And let me see, I like to play around to see how it looks when I go with the orange. Sometimes I take it a little bit more to the reds or over to the right where the yellows are. So let's take it actually here. Let's bring the skin tone out a little more by bringing it over to the left a little bit. The reds, if there's a lot of red, then I'll play around with that, but since we really don't have a lot of reds in this image, I won't. Another thing that I do, depending on the green aspect of it, if it's a very, very green area, like here, there's like a little bit of a green tint in the background, or if we're in the forest, I'll bring it over to the yellow part a little bit. I don't like my aquas to be green, so I bring it over to the right, a little more to the blues. And depending on what kind of blues there are in the image, I'll either bring it a little more over to the aqua part, or darker and more into the darker blue purple area. But for this one, let's take it over to the left a little bit into the aquas. Purples, magenta, I really don't play with that much. Let's raise the oranges just a little bit to bring the skin tone out. Let's desaturate the green since there's a lot of green in the background. I really didn't like that part. Let's desaturate the blue just a bit, the aquas just a bit. And I like to play a lot with the luminance. So what the luminance does is it brings up the brightness of those separate colors you adjust. So let's go up to the blues, raise the blues quite a bit. The green, just lower it just a bit since it's in the background. The yellow, let's raise it a little bit, and the orange, let's lower it just a bit to darken the skin tone, and the red just to raise it just a bit. I think that's good. So in the split toning area, you have where you can adjust the highlights and the shadows. So the highlights, I always like to keep it around like the kind of red, orange, yellow area. So put it like right around there. Then the highlights, and then the shadows actually, I like to keep in the aqua and the blue area. And then it looks kind of bad here, but then you're gonna go into where it says saturation underneath it. And I'm gonna lower the saturation just a bit so it's a little more subtle. Just like that. And then in the balance area right here, you could either lean it more towards the highlights or the shadows. So depending on how it looks, I like to play around with this, see which looks better. Okay. I think I'm gonna put a little bit over to the highlights just a bit. I don't like it to be too blue. Okay. And then I like to also go right here into the details section where it says luminance, and I like to raise the noise reduction just a bit to get like that little bit of grain out. It kind of softens it a little bit more, which is what I like. And let me see what else we can do. Okay, so when you come down here all the way at the bottom, there's a little section that says camera calibration. This is where you really also can put a lot of like your color grading into it. So if you want more of an orange and teal look, you're gonna come all the way down to blue primary, and you're gonna bring it over to the left. If you bring it all the way over, you can see that orange and teal kind of look, but it's a little too much. So let's kind of balance it out. Go like -31 and -30. And then you can also control the saturation of that right there underneath it. So let's desaturate it just a bit. I really like desaturated images for my edits, and kind of raise highlights and shadows, kind of like not blow out the image with the brightness, but kind of reveal more details that might be hidden in the highlights and shadows. So then what I like to do a lot of times with the green primary, red primary, is just play around going left and right, see which one I feel like looks better. So I feel like going over to the left a little bit in the green primary, just a bit, maybe desaturate it just a little, see in the red primaries, maybe bring it over to the right just a little there too. And then here you can also control your tint shadows. So like in the beginning you had temperature and tint, down here you have tint but for your shadows. So let's see which one looks better. I think I'm gonna bring it over a little more into the kind of magenta area just a little bit. And that looks pretty good right there. So I think one last thing I'm gonna do is raise the shadows just a little bit more so I can get more details out. Maybe raise the highlights just a little bit. Just like that, I think that looks good. And I think that's, let's see how it looks, the before and after. By pressing Y, you can see the before and after. So you see how it's a little green and kind of like dark. Here it's not as green, it's a little more kind of like warm. And your shadows show more detail. The highlights are a little good, showing more detail on the highlights as well. And it's a good basic color grade. So then say you really like that color grade and you want to save it. So you're going to go over here into the presets section all the way to the left, and you're going to see a little plus next to it. And you're going to want to make sure all these are checked off. I leave calibration off, and then basically you can rename it right here. So we could say desat, let me think, kitchen, desat kitchen grade. And then you could press create. And then all the way at the bottom, if you go all the way down, you're gonna have like your own section where your color grades are, and it's right here, desat kitchen grade. And these are all the presets that I use for when I have different images for different kind of like situations that are going on. And then after that, you go to file, export, or you could go to library and then press export. And then you can set your location where you want to export it. I have it set to my desktop. Press export, and it's gonna pop up over to your right. Let me see, where did it go? Okay, it's right here. And then after that, the best way to export your photos to your phone out of high quality, because if you text it to yourself, a lot of the times the image is gonna get really compressed and it's gonna look bad. So Macs normally will always allow this depending on the year model you have, but basically right click on the image, go to share, airdrop, and then select the device that you want to send it to, which is your phone. And then after you get it on your phone, that's when you can put it onto Instagram. So I'm gonna show you guys real quick on when I export my photos and I put it into Instagram. A lot of times I like to play around adding some like different kind of grades to it. So a lot of the times I'll go to edit, and I'll change around the contrast, the structure, maybe cool it down a little bit in the warmth, add a little bit of saturation, and just play around with the options you have in Instagram. Okay, so then after that, when it's ready in Instagram, you press next and post. So if this tutorial helped you in any kind of way, guys, please subscribe and like. I'll be trying to do a tutorial once a week. And thank you for watching.